through it. There were some examples, obviously, in the Bible. Abraham and Sarah, they were no spring chickens when Isaac came along. 190, wow. And then Joseph, what an amazing example of faith. And I think some of the kids were learning about Joseph this morning. From the pit, to the prison, to the palace. Job, we talked about Job last week, so we won't get into him again. And then Cornelius, back in Acts 10, his faith led to Peter even being sent in the first place just to preach the salvation. To turn our trials into triumphs, we have to let patience do its work. It's difficult, but it enables us to mature in our walk. Here's my little challenge, if you want to call it this. Two things come to mind when I come to church here every Sunday. Number one, it cracks me up that every single person sits in the same exact seat every week. And it's been that way every church I've seen, and I do the same thing. So we're all, we're just creatures of habit. But with that in mind, I'm thinking it's very possible, whether you're at a congregation of 10, of 20, of 70, of 7,000, not everybody knows everybody else. So it's very possible that someone sitting on this side might not know someone over here very well. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand no one's ever going to be best friends with everyone. I get that. We don't all have to be. But try this on for size this week. Find one person in this congregation who you just don't know very well. Maybe after church today, or maybe send them an email. Maybe meet them for coffee, 10, 20 minutes, and just listen. Listen to their testimony. Let them tell you their story. I've been so blessed to be able to meet with a lot of the members of this congregation, and it's fascinating. I walk out enlightened and edified every single time because you all have a story to tell that I have not heard before, and you can learn something from every single person in this room. Try it. So as we close, God takes us where we need to be, not where we want to be. It's okay to doubt God's plan. It's okay to question God's motives. We talked a little bit about this in class this morning, that awful tragedy in Fort Lauderdale. Right? I was driving in the car, shaking my fist at God, and asking, how can this happen again? Why does that happen? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, other than the fact that there's evil in the world. But you know what? I don't like the fact that God could have stopped that, and He didn't. But it's not going to change my faith. You're allowed to disagree. You're allowed to disagree with one another, too. You're allowed to disagree with the minister. It's okay, as long as we do it patiently, we're patient with one another, and we don't verbally attack the person. But what you have to do, what I truly believe, pick a side and commit to it. Be a sold-out Christian. Be incredibly energetic and passionate about what you believe in. Or else, you run the risk of being a lukewarm Christian. And what did Jesus himself say to the church in Laodicea in Revelation 3:16? Because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I will do what? I will spit you out of my mouth. We talked about Genesis 6 this morning, and how wicked and depraved the world had become, and how scary that verse is. This is just as bad. I don't want anyone to say about anyone here that you are lukewarm. Pick a side and sell out. Patience is a virtue. It brings us closer to God. It brings us closer to God's people. James says it, let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Our maturity comes through these trials, as does God's grace. You see, think about it, you see the true skill of a classroom teacher when the kids are misbehaving. You see the true skill of an artist when they don't have all their instruments. You see the true skill of a pilot during crazy storms, not when the skies are blue. It's like that movie, I don't know if you remember, Sully. I happened to watch that right before I flew, which questions my judgment. But anyway, it was an amazing story. This man could have panicked, and if he did, everybody probably would have died on that point. But he was patient, and that was a trial that certainly ended up in triumph. It could have been a whole lot worse. 2 Peter 3:9. The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but for everyone to come to repentance. You hear that? God is patient. He wants everyone to be saved. He's not going to slam down your door to make sure you come to church every Sunday. But he wants you to be saved. This is what he wants. And we have to rely on him. Let me end with this. There was an older couple, and the woman had a stroke. She suffered a stroke. So instead of staying in the hospital, they decided to live out the remaining years of her life at home. And at first, she was able to walk, but not really on her own. So the husband would just take her by the hand and, go wherever they had to go. Now, over time, her condition deteriorated a little bit, to the point where she couldn't walk at all. So whenever she had to go somewhere, her husband would literally have to kind of lift her up, lead her against him, and then they would kind of shuffle to where they needed to go. Now, at first, this was kind of a drag for him. He didn't like this. But then he said, I'm going to use these instances as opportunities to dance with my bride. So he would say something like, come on, Jeannie, let's dance. And that was his testimony. We have to rely on God. Let him take you where he wants us to be, not where we want to be. And if you do this, he will be the greatest dance partner you've ever had. But you have to believe. If you have not been baptized, if you need to come forward, now is the time. For whatever reason, I've read a lot this week about faith and baptism and which is necessary, and we're so not getting into that right now. And the more you read about this, at least the more I read about it, the angrier I get. It's like, you know what? Just do what the Bible says and stop parsing the words. It's not rocket science. Can't we just do that? But you have to want to do it. And you have to understand, there is not one unbaptized Christian in the entire New Testament. Let's leave it at that. Jesus, he tasted death. He destroyed death so that you don't have to deal with it. You know that. But you have to be one with him. And you have to get rid of your old self so you know for sure that you will not be separated from God for all eternity. And you have to realize if you're wavering, and look, I'll be honest with you, throwing in the invitation every Sunday at the end of a sermon, I think is incredibly awkward, and it's very clunky, and I don't love doing it. I know it's important, but there's nothing in the Bible that says you have to be saved on Sunday at 1:12. It can be any time during the week, so remember that. But one thing I will say, it is a gift, kind of like the gift that Simeon received, and we talked about at the beginning. Otherwise, if you don't realize this, you're missing out on a gift that gives you peace that surpasses all understanding. A gift that offers you security in a world that is otherwise very insecure. You don't have to deal. You don't have to worry about, focus about what other people are thinking of you. It doesn't mean anything compared to the blood that Jesus shed for each one of you on that cross. You will lay down your life for the joy set before you, because this is the gift that keeps on giving. So if you're at all interested, if you even want to start a Bible study, if you want to get a little bit closer in your walk, come talk to me immediately after church, and if that doesn't work, find someone else who can help you out. The lesson is yours.
Have you been to Jesus for the cleansing power? Are you washed?